Hey everybody, I just got my Gigabyte dual 1366 board for the $145 NAS Killer build version 2.0. I actually got a couple of them. I just unboxed this one and I got two more that I haven't unwrapped. They're over here. It came packaged super well. Everything's super clean. The heatsinks are actually 1U heatsinks, and I for some reason thought they were 2U. So I'll talk about that a little bit later. And I got a couple of the other parts too. So we're going to do the tabletop build of this guy, but first we're going to unbox all these parts, and I honestly forgot what I bought. So I'm going to be kind of learning along with you guys, or I guess remembering what I bought. So yeah, let's just get to it. I don't know if waste too much time. I've got a couple processors here. I don't remember what they were. It's a little dirty, but it's a Intel Xeon X5687, which is a quad-core 3.6 base, 3.86 turbo. So I got a pair of these guys. And these, I believe, are all E5620s. Yep, so that's an E5620. A little bit dirty too, nothing big. This guy is also an E5620. So we got 5 of these guys. I'm not going to unbox all of them because I mean, I gotta test them later anyway. But we're just gonna install a couple on this guy. We have SAS2 breakout cables. So you have SFF 8087 on one end and 4 SATA on the other. This is what most of you will be using for this board and the onboard SAS. This will give you 8 SATA 3 equivalent ports in addition to the 6 SATA 2 that's on board on the motherboard, giving you a total of 14 SATA ports. If you're going to use SSDs, I would use them on the SAS controller because you'll get much higher throughput. Whereas hard drives, you're not really going to hit the limit of SATA 2 or SATA 3, so it doesn't matter what you put the hard drives on. And I'll show you how to plug these in a few minutes. We have a couple EPS splitters. These are going to be handy because I bought I got a 400 watt, 600 watt, both EVGA, B stock PSUs, and they only have single EPS. So these will be nice. Hopefully they're long enough. I think they will be. This feels like RAM. See how much I got. I have no complaints with all the eBay sellers I used so far in this build and these segments. I usually have good experiences. But everything has come packaged really, really well, so no disappointments. Yes, this is a lot of RAM. So it looks like there's 2 different sets. So we have 6 HP branded Hynix 2 gig sticks, so that'll be 12 gig total. These are DDR3 2RX8 1333 registered ECC. So we got 6 of these guys. These are blue, so I'll probably use these with the build, or with this one at least. And then same seller, we got HP branded Samsung 2 gig 2RX8 1333 registered ECC. So same specs, probably even same timing. Yeah, same timing too. So even though they're different brands, they're going to be totally compatible. So I could run, even though they look completely different, I could run both in here without a problem. What's this guy? Oh, this is a HP SAS expander. I didn't really talk about this in the build guide too much. I added it sort of after the fact. Sorry for all the noise if it's coming through the camera. But these guys are going to be super handy for those of you that want to run more than 14 drives. They're just so awesome. And I picked this up for $11, but apparently the seller accepts as low as $10.01. So 10 bucks shipped for one of these is an insane deal. So it's got a PCI Express X4 connector. It's either X4 or X8. I think it is, no, it's X8. So it's got an X8 connector on the bottom, but really this is only used for power. So if you have an open slot, you can actually use it in an open slot and just have this much stick off, because I believe the power just goes through about this much, or maybe it's just this pin here. But anyway, there's no software that goes through this. It's just hardware only, and you have to have a SAS controller to use it. So you would take two SAS cables from the SAS ports on your motherboard or on another LSI SAS card, but since this motherboard has an LSI SAS built in, we'll use these as an example. You would take two cables from this guy, and it would be male-to-male 8087 SAS cables, and you go two from here, and there's on this card it says two backplane, so it would be these two guys here, and then they would plug in here, and then you would be able to use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 internal ports to plug in breakout cables. So 6 times 4 is 24 drives, in addition to the 6 you already have, which means that you can support 30 drives natively with just one of these. If you have two of them, you can just single link them, and you would put, let's see, this is, I think you can use either one of these as single link. You would just plug one cable in here, and then you could have, 6 more. So you could have 24, 48 drives on two of these, and then another 6 from your internal, which would be 54, which is a huge amount of drives. On top of that, it has SFF 8088 in the rear if you want to connect to an external DAS. And I talk a little bit about that in my DAS guide, which is on Reddit, and I'll link that in the description below. So this is a really, really versatile card. If you have SAS, I would recommend picking up one of these just to have on hand for versatility, and it's never bad to have one on hand. They're so cheap, but they're really awesome. So I'll be using this in my build guide with the SAS cables going to here, and in my build video for this guy. I'll probably also feature it in my $375 Unraid build as well. And yeah, so if you have any questions about this guy, ask me in the comments or ask me on Discord. So that's the HP SAS expander, and I'm making a mess, so let's get some of this stuff out of the way. This one I already opened earlier. I believe this is the same sort of kit. We have 6 2-gig sticks of Kingston. These are DDR3 1066, so a little bit slower. Honestly, I don't care. It just, whatever's cheapest I will buy. There are about 0 situations where you will notice the speed between 1066 and 1333. You may notice the speed difference between 1066 and 1600, but I don't actually know anyone that's bought DDR3 1600 ECC registered, and it's kind of hard to find. It carries a price premium, so it's not really worth it. Usually between 1066 and 1333, I just buy whatever's cheapest. I think this was like, I don't remember the dollar amount, but I know it was a little bit cheaper than these two sets here. So yeah, especially if you're in a home situation, home lab use, and you're just not going to notice a difference. If you're doing things that are memory intensive, you'll probably be buying higher density, and maybe faster speeds will be more important to you, but ultimately it's not worth it. So I wouldn't worry about that too much. Anyway, I'll set these guys aside for now. Set these guys aside for now. Now, I'm gonna use these blue sticks, and don't need this guy. We won't need these as well. So on to the main part here. I guess what I was going to say was I'm not going to use the dual X5687 on this particular board. I'll use them on another Gigabyte board when I unbox that one, because I'm going to use active coolers on them. Those chips are just going to run way too hot for these tiny little 1Us. Although if you have direct cooling, you can actually take like an 80mm fan and double-sided tape it or affix it with zip ties somehow to the heatsink, and that would be plenty. But honestly, I'm just going to get a couple of Arctic tower coolers and use those and not really worry about it. I guess I haven't done a board overview of this guy yet, so hopefully I can knock one out here in just like a couple minutes. I talk about it in my $145 NAS Killer version 2 build, and special thanks to the server store for not providing me with this, because I bought this myself, but being in good contact with us and good contact with the community. They've got a custom promo code up just for us. It's promo code JDM, and you can use that on their store on this board, and then I'll bring it down to $55 shipped. So this is an awesome board. I think it's even better than the Supermicro offerings. Unfortunately, there's only really one variant of it, but that doesn't really matter too much because it's got everything that you could need. So starting with the back, it's got 4 USB 2.0. It's got 4 Intel Gigabit NIC with dedicated IPMI, which is this guy right here, right in the middle. So to me, that means it could be a good virtualization board or even a good router if you want a super powerful pfSense for whatever reason. Having dedicated NICs for your VMs or a couple VMs to each NIC is super, super nice. I like doing that a lot. You have full-size PCI Express X16. I believe it's 2.0. Again, not a big deal, but it's nice to have the full X16 bandwidth. And then we have, these are physical X8, but I don't know what electrical they are. Might just need to refer to the manual. I'm not familiar with Gigabyte's motherboard markings. I can't find them as easily as I do on Supermicros. But anyway, you have 2 physical X8 slots, regular PCI, which could come in handy if you want to use a sound card or something like that. Something not bandwidth intensive, you can just chuck in that guy, and then you won't be wasting a PCI Express slot. And while it only has 3 physical PCIe slots, part of the reason of that is that we have 18 DIMM slots, so 3 per channel per CPU. So you have 3 channels and then 3 DIMMs per channel. So it's 9 on this guy and 9 on this guy, giving you a full total support of 144 gig if you use 8 gig sticks, or 288 gig if you use 16 gig sticks. I don't believe it supports more than 288 gig, but goddamn, that's a lot of RAM. I don't think you'll need more than that on dual socket 1366, and if you do, tell me why in the comments, because I want to talk to you. And another reason it has, well, okay, so part of the reason is it's physical space wise. You can see how far the RAM comes down, and it's even coming down past the IO shield area, which cuts off where the first PCI Express slot would normally be, which would be about here. So you wouldn't have room for it. You got a CPU socket here. And then the other reason, you have integrated LSI SAS 2008, which would normally consume a PCI Express slot anyway. So imagine having one kind of about here, and then instead of having one there, you've got your LSI SAS controller hardwired into the board. So really, you're not losing out on a whole lot of PCI Express. So equivalent to a Supermicro board, this one would have 4 with inclusion of the LSI SAS. And then we have a whack ton of fan headers. There's 2 here, down at the bottom, here, none on the top there. Oh, so 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 here, and none on the top. But 6 is a good amount. With Arctic PWM fans, you can use the daisy chaining or PWM sharing, so you can plug in a fan and then plug your next fan directly into that one. So with those, it's not as big of a deal, but 6 is a good amount. Yeah, I mean, you can't beat this board for 55 bucks. We're going to be using $3 processors, E5620. Each one gives you about 4,000 pass mark, totals around 7,500, 7,800 pass mark for the pair. So again, these are $3 a piece, so that's $6 of processors. And I picked up 12 gig of RAM for about $23, and the board was 55 bucks. The first round of boards that got sold were $45, and then the seller sold out. He said, okay, I'm going to relist them, but the lowest price I'll go is $55. Honestly, I don't think he was expecting to sell out, so I don't blame him for bringing the price up. Even at full price, which is $65 asking, this is a fantastic, fantastic board. The LSI SAS can cost anywhere between $30 and $40 as an external card. So you're getting about 30, let's say lowest end $30 of value there, which would bring the cost of the board down to about 20 bucks. And then you have, $25. And then you have quad port NIC, which isn't cheap either. And that could be another $15, $20. So you're basically getting those 2 features built in for free on this motherboard. And it's just super, super awesome. And if you remember from the $375 Unraid build, that board was about $100 for similar features, although I don't believe it had quad port NIC. So that's something to note there. I'm going to go ahead and start taking these heat sinks off just to install the processors really quick. Do the RAM really quick as well. It looks like the heat sinks only installed by the diagonal ones here, so on the bottom left and the top right. Hopefully that'll make it a little bit easier to take off. Maybe I'm wrong. Another thing to note here, these heat sinks are installed the wrong way for what we're doing, but these came out of custom servers that had no cooling, and they were kind of like a backplane type setup, so the servers were 1U and there was no power supply, so these would just kind of slide into a big rack with 10 or 20 of them, and then the cooling and power supplies would be in the server rack itself, drawing air across these in this way. Which is kind of a weird setup considering that the RAM is blocking most of that airflow. But honestly, I'm sure it worked out just fine. But for what we're doing, we're going to have to turn these in the direction of the RAM because our airflow is going to be coming from this side and moving across out the back. When you take the heatsink off, you want to inspect You want to inspect the processor socket and make sure all of the pins are, looking good, because that would be for sure a reason to send it back or just request a RMA. This one looks pretty solid, very, very clean, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. I'm going to go ahead and install the processors, and then we'll boot it up and see how it does. So I've gone over this a couple times before. 1366 is super easy. Just unlatch that, open the top lid, and slot the processor in. You can either use the gold corner on the processor here and line that up with, there's I don't know if you can see because of the angle, but there's a little white mark down in the socket right about there. Or you can use the 2 notches on either side of the processor, and there's only 2 notches in the socket itself, and line them up that way. And close the lid, and bring the arm down, and latch it. Oop. Okay, I will do this with 2 hands. There. Sometimes I have to make some interesting choices what to do with my hands because of camera work and whatnot, but yeah, do that with 2 hands. Just gonna take this other guy off. Okay. And just remember, this processor is going to install the opposite way from the last one that we just installed. So, I'm just going to take this guy and set it right down. Close the latch, hold it down. That's it. And so now we're going to do our RAM. So we have 6 2 gig sticks. We're going to do triple channels. So that means that they're going to go in the blue slots. And on this motherboard, let's see if I can get a good shot here. They're labeled down here. And it says DDR P0C0D0. So processor 0, C0, which means that this is the channel 0. D0 means that it's DIMM 0 in that channel. So here we have P0, C0, D1, still channel 0, and DIMM 1 in that channel. Sorry if the angle's a little bad there. And then we have P0, C0, D2. But since we want to do triple channel, we're going to install 1 in each channel, which are the blue ones. Now, if you were to do 2 sticks only, say you had, say you had only 2 8 gig sticks, what you would want to do is use channel 0 on both processors like this. Here. And here. So you'd have 8 gig on each processor. And to install RAM, it's pretty easy. Flip open the tabs and notice that there's a short side and a long side, and there's a key in the middle. So we're going to look for the short side and the long side here. Then we just set the RAM directly in the slot with the tabs open and push very lightly on both sides. And then on the short side, you want to push as far over as you can towards the end of the stick until the tab clicks in on its own. And then just repeat on the long side, same thing. So if you had 4 gig sticks, this would be the configuration, or just 4 sticks in general, doesn't have to be 4 gig. You would want 2 in each processor in the primary, like that. And if you have 3 sticks, like we have here, we're 6 total, 3 for each processor. you want all of the primary channels filled first. Now, if you go to 8 sticks or 10 sticks or 12 sticks, you kind of do the same thing. You would do the next dim over in the primary channel for 8 sticks. I guess I can show you what that looks like. I won't really fully put them in, but so if you have 8 sticks, one would go there, and one would go here. 10, you would go to the next one, like this. And so on. So it's pretty important to configure your RAM correctly and put them in the proper channels. Another thing I would do, just kind of as a best practice, I don't know if it's entirely necessary, but I would put your largest sticks, if you're mixing sizes, in the primary slots, and then go down to the secondary DIMMs as you go smaller. So if you have a mixture of, say, 8 gig, 4 gig, and 2 gig sticks, I would put the 8s in the primary, and then the 4, and then the 2. I don't think that's strictly necessary, but it definitely helps if you're going to be changing out or adding a lot, and it definitely won't hurt anything. So that's the way I do things. We're pretty much done here. We would just have to install some, well, add some thermal paste and install these heat sinks. Wow, they even clean these off for me. That's pretty nice. It could be a little bit cleaner, but still pretty good. And then that would be just the end of the tabletop build for this guy. If you want to see me install heat sinks, you can go to any other tabletop build I've done and watch that. I'm not going to do that here. This video has been longer than most of them already. I guess the one other thing I can show you, the SAS cables. Nothing too serious here on these guys, but these are so much easier to use than SATA cables. They way easier to cable manage, and I mean, just look how thin these wires are. You have one cable for 4 drives. And this board looks awesome. I really like it. So we just take our protective cap off of the 8087 cable here, and I think these go with, here's the latching mechanism on the top, that silver part. I think the silver part goes down, actually. Let's just see if I can get a shot of this. There's 2 little tiny holes on this side, and there's 2 little nubs on the SAS connector, and this just goes straight down, and make sure it clicks in just like that. There you have your SAS cable installed, and we definitely will have to flash this SAS controller. It might be in IT mode already, but all of the ones I've gotten that are in IT mode have been like IT mode version 7, and I believe the latest is 20. So we're definitely going to need to flash that to the latest one to get the most performance, most drive compatibility, things like that. Super easy to do. But I'll be doing that in a later video with software and everything like that. So look for that video for the Supermicro X8 DT6. We're going to have to flash the SAS controller on that one. We're going to have to flash the SAS controller on this Gigabyte board as well. And yeah, so we'll have a good time with these. And this cable is ridiculous. So long. Just gonna take it out. Be very careful with these. They're a little, I mean, they're pretty heavy duty connectors on this end, but this might not be what you're used to as far as like just plugging a hard drive cable in, so just be careful plugging and unplugging these. But yeah, anyway, so just gonna wrap up this video. If you have any questions, please leave a comment. Leave a comment in the Reddit thread, which is gonna be linked in the description below. Give me a shout on Discord if you need anything in particular, We're nearing 2,000 members. Hopefully I can do something special for that. This might be our first hardware giveaway. And I'm trying to look into shipping for EU and other countries to see if I can do a hardware giveaway for other countries or not. But definitely we're going to do a hardware giveaway for US, and then we'll see if we can do something for EU or not. But yeah, so join the Discord, check out Reddit. Thanks again to all of my Patreon supporters, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time.